Alright, Eagles. So, we're going to take some time to talk about covalent bonds, which I know we've talked about in the past, but I wanted to take some time to go over it again. Now, covalent bonds, unlike ionic bonds, form when nonmetals share valence electrons. Let me adjust this. It's a little bit bigger than I wanted. Alright, so a few ways to tell these apart from other compounds, ionic compounds, is they will have a relatively low, melting and boiling point. And they are not as soluble as ionic compounds. Let me reword that. They're less soluble than ionic compounds. To say they're not soluble at all would be incorrect because you have things like sugar which do dissolve in water. Alright, and they are poor conductors of electricity in any state. So let's go ahead and draw some. And you guys might have realized I'm a big fan of the color blue, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Let's see. So we will do... Excuse you, I said be blue. There you go. Do H2O first. So you will have oxygen with 6 valence electrons. 6 electrons are on the outside. Then hydrogen has 1 valence electron. Now hydrogen is an exception in that it only wants to get to 2 valence electrons, whereas other nonmetals want to get to 8. That's because hydrogen only has the first energy level to deal with, which can only hold a maximum of 2 electrons. What will happen is the valence electrons will form bonds, and now they can both be counted for each atom. So that means that we can count 1, 2 for hydrogen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 for oxygen, then 1 and 2 for hydrogen. They're all satisfied, they're all set. Now to name it, you have to use prefixes for each element to tell you how many of each you have. So for 2, we would use di because there's 2 hydrogens. Let me change this back to 3. That's awfully rude. You have dihydrogen, because there are two hydrogens. And then because there's only one oxygen, we'd call it monoxide. Now, with oxygen, you always drop the last vowel off the end of the prefix. So mono becomes mon. Di keeps it. Tri keeps it. Trioxide. You'd have, instead of tetra, you'd have tetroxide. Instead of pentaoxide, you have pentoxide. Let's go ahead and do another one. Let's do CO2. So you have carbon in the middle with 4 valence electrons and then 2 oxygen atoms. And I'm going to draw them this way with 1 valence electron on the top and on the right, which isn't something I usually like to do, but in this case, for the sake of making it easier to draw, I will. And it's kind of on the opposite side on the other one, bottom left. But in carbon dioxide, you'll see what's known as double bonds. So carbon will form 2 bonds with each of the oxygens to satisfy the octet rule, or their need to have 8 valence electrons. So this oxygen has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is oxygen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then carbon has its 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Now because, when we name it, because carbon is only 1 and it's the first element we're naming, we don't have to add mono. We can just say carbon, and it's assumed there is just 1 there. But then because there's 2 oxygen, we do need the di, the prefix, oxide. Dioxide. Let's do one more. N2. Now nitrogen and a few others are known as diatomic elements, in which they will exist in the world bonded to another atom of the same type, and that allows it to exist without constantly reacting. You just call this nitrogen. Doesn't need any fancy name. But I chose this one because nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. To go from 5 to 8, we're going to need 3 more electrons. That means 3 bonds. So what you'll see is these 2 nitrogen atoms are going to form 3 bonds between them. This is what we call a triple bond. Now if you count them up, the electrons they each have access to, it comes to 8. And a triple bond is the most number of bonds you can have between 2 different atoms. Alright, well, that's all I have for this video. If you guys are bored at home, I recommend taking notes and giving these a shot. Extra credit will be awarded to anyone who can show me that you've taken these notes. And we'll go from there. Hope to see you all soon. I miss you. And yeah, I'll talk to you once all of this is over. Have a good one. Bye.